Alright, start with a disclaimer. Don't hurt yourself and sue me, please. Consult an exercise professional, consult a doctor. Do not do anything in any of these videos ever, under any circumstances. Not really, but if you're introducing a new movement, introduce it gradually. If you're adding new range of motion, if you're adding new load, build up slowly. Please don't hurt yourself. If anything does hurt, please stop immediately. I'm just sharing what has worked for me and what worked for the people I train. I think you might find it useful, but don't mistake it for personalized instruction. You might have a unique problem that I'm not aware of. So I'll do my best to warn you about any pitfalls, but please take some personal responsibility. Anything I suggest, I wouldn't want anyone to hurt themselves with. Okay, hi, I'm Ryan. I'm a personal trainer and a strength coach. After years of training myself and working with a lot of clients and students and friends, I've accumulated a little bit of knowledge, and I find myself repeating myself. I find myself saying the same things, and I thought it would be worthwhile to put some of it on the record so that I can just direct people towards these videos. I also thought that maybe someone I've never had the opportunity to meet in person could benefit from some of what I've learned in the past 10 or so years teaching other people, as well as a lifetime of training myself. So over the next couple of weeks to start with, I'm going to offer an introduction to the basic human movements, at least as we've broken them down here. I use Dan John's categories. I use a lot of Dan John stuff. Thank you, Dan John. You're a generous, amazing person. Everyone, please buy all of Dan John's books. I use a lot of his categories, so we're going to kind of break each of those down and work within those, including the squat, the push, the pull, the hinge, and the loaded carry. There are some other variations beyond that that we might play with, but I really just want to cover the basics that everyone needs to do, really regardless of your training goals or your health goals or where you're at personally. Everyone should be doing some variation of these 5 movements, so I'm going to take the next couple of weeks and give some introductions to each of those movements. If people are looking for an even simpler template, say push, pull, hinge, squat, loaded carry sounds like too many things to remember. A simpler template you could use is push, pull, legs, and brace. I think that'll become apparent which movements will fit into those categories as we go along. If anything's unclear, someone can let me know, and I'm happy to clarify. But the broader template we'll use will have each of those movements broken down week by week. There's quite a bit of scope for variety within each of those exercise categories. If you want to get to be any good at something, you really do have to repeat the same pattern a bunch of times to drill it into your body. That said, there's still some benefit to variety. It teaches you different aspects of a movement, helps you hone different aspects of a pattern, and also helps keep you mentally engaged. So we'll go through different variations for each of those movements. Exercise choice isn't the only variable that we'll play with. Another key one you can mess around with is tempo, whether you move something slowly or quickly. The volume of work you do, frequency of training you do, sets and reps, the standard ones that everyone asks about. We will play a little bit with each of these things as we go through the different movements. I might do videos talking about these individually if people are interested. As a general rule, initially we try to make light weights heavy. Thank you, Marty Gallagher, for that concept. We will work with as little resistance as possible to try and make the movement as hard as possible. And ultimately, we want to be able to make heavy weights light by getting stronger from those movements, and eventually we move up to lifting heavier weights, or in the case of body weight movements, using harder variations using leverage, where we sort of offset our weight in a more awkward way, or we just shift to using one side instead of 2 sides. All of these things are pretty sexy and exciting, playing around with tempo, working with some unique set and rep scheme. I would warn you not to get too sucked into these complicated variables at the beginning. For a beginner, just focusing on these basic movements performed well, working on movement quality rather than worrying about something like tempo or getting exactly this amount of sets of this amount of reps of this amount of weight is going to be what sets you up for success in the long term.